if there's one question I get asked more than any other, it's where do you start your session? Now, we're down at White Springs and we're on the pleasure lake. Now this lake is absolutely full of features. As you can see, I've got an island behind me, I've got a long margin to my right, I've got all lily pads to my left, but there's always one place I'll start, no matter where the venue, where in the country, and that's on the short pole line. I'm looking to target the near slope, so we're talking a top current 1, top current 2, just where it starts to flatten off at the bottom is always a brilliant place to start your session. There's always some early fish mooching around that area of the lake, especially in match situations. I might only be looking for 1 or 2 fish just to get me into the match, to get me going, and there is no better place to start than on that short line. But it's not just fishing the short line, the bait is really important. Today, it's all about pellets for me. I think that is the best way to catch a couple of quick fish. It's an instant response, and you don't have to build it up. You can feed hardly any, just tap 4, 5 or 6 pellets in, sit there nice and patient with your little trap, wait for an odd carp to come in. Is an absolute brilliant way of starting. So like I said, I'm looking for a couple of quick carp. Now, sometimes it might be 1 or 2, other times you can catch 8 to 10 on this. So the rig is going to replicate what we're fishing for. I've got a nice long kit, I've got some black hydro, I've got 020 supernatural mainline, because there's a few snags, there's a few lily pads about, I've got a couple of back shots, a nice positive 0.4 bobby, and then my shorting partner is just a little strung bulk of 9s there, a foot away from the hook, 1 number 9 dropper, and then I've got 5 inches of 018 and a 16's SMWG hook. Now where we're going to target is it's really shallow close in, and then you've got that near shelf that just goes off, and then it just flattens out nicely. I'm just at the bottom of where it sort of starts to flatten out a little bit. That's a brilliant place to target, and what's really nice here is it's rock hard, so you won't get loads of fizzing and foul hookers. Everything should be nice and clean. Just tap a few pellets in. I think it's like clay bed here. So when you tap your pellets in, you won't have all the fizz in, and that will just sit there and then wallop under nice and clean. I've decided on fishery 8mm pellets today just because there's a lot of small nuisance fish, and this line is all about targeting those big quality fish. Get your match or your pleasure session underway nicely. If we can get a couple of them underneath our hat to start with, I think it'll be a great session, and it'll be a great example of why this line is so good and how to fish it. So let's get plumbed up, let me show you where the shelf is, and then we can start catching a few hopefully. Right then, to start, let's just have a quick look at the plumbing up. Like I said, I want to target the bottom of that near shelf, and what's quite nice here is it's quite close to me. So as you can see, it's really shallow close in, but then it drops off quite quickly. Still going away from me there. There we go, we're getting to the realms there now, and what I've got my little bit of white tape, like always, just in line with the end of my knee. There we are, we're just coming down to the bottom of the shelf there now. There we are, and that's where it starts to flatten off. So I want to come back just to, there we are, so that's going to be about where we're going to fish. I'm just going to alter that float a little bit, and that'll be jobs a good one, because when I'm dropping that plummet in there, there's not a bubble or nothing coming up, so the bottom's rock hard there, which is absolutely perfect for this. So let's just alter that float a little bit, and then we can get on with the session. Right, so we're ready to start now. And just to start with, now you can either tap your pellets in with a little pole pot like what I've got on now, or you can throw them to make a bit more noise to draw some fish in, but I think a really good starting option is just to tap your pellets in to start with, and if you feel like you need a little bit more traction, then you can start throwing them. I'd rather just sneak them in to start, so I'm going to feed like 6, 8mm on that line. And I'm going to make sure with the pot I'm going to be super accurate. So I've got my little bit of tape there, I'm in line with my tape, in line with my far bank marker, there's that tree on the far side, and then just going to rattle those pellets in, and then flick my rig out past and let it swing back towards me, towards that shelf. There we are. Now the bites I'm looking for on this are going to be nice, clean, and as we're fishing for quality fish, there's some big carp in this lake, and you do tend to catch those great big ones on these short lines. So it's going to be a bit of a patience game. Like I said, it might just be 1 or 2 fish just to start your session, but I have had days where I've been on this line for the first 2 hours of the match and not have to come off it. But it's also a great line to come back on later on in the day. Just keep flicking a few pellets there. Every time you ship out, just throw like 2 or 3 pellets there, and you can often get a good run late on in the match as well. So just a little indication there then. Just going to lift that, drop it back in. Got my 2 little back shots on there, look. That's just stopping my rig drifting out of position. And I'm looking for a nice clean wall up under on this line. There we go. Now that is what we're after on this short line. That bite is absolutely clean as a whistle there, just walloped under. And we've latched into one of the big carp that live in here. So you've got 2 options now. You can either, might be in trouble here. Should have had some sections behind me. Now you can either keep doing what you're doing and just tapping a bit of bait in. Oh, please stop. Or what you can do now that you've hooked that fish is try and set it up for another one and just throw in a couple of pellets just so that's sort of set for your next drop in. Now we've got decent gear on here, but as you can probably see there's a lot of like lily pads and stuff around me, and that's a good fish, that is. Oh yeah, and these are exactly what I'm after on the short line. Couple of big old units to start the session off, and then straight away, if you're in the match conditions, it takes the pressure off you. If you've got 2 or 3 of these big ones in the net early doors, you're never chasing it. And that's a nice fish, that is. Oh yeah. Nice big old mirror. There he is, look. Ooh, just lost sight of it there then. There we go. That's a great start, and that's what we're after, look. Good fish. £7 or so, I bet that is. Absolutely fantastic bite, as you've probably seen, just absolutely fired down the hole. You can imagine those few 8mm on the bottom, and he's just mooching around, picking them up, moving along, picking them up. And then when he hoovers yours up, look at that. Here we are, that's the first one. Great start. Let's see if we can nick 1 or 2 more. Right, what a great start that is. So now we've thrown a few pellets in there. Hopefully that's brought an odd fish back in. I'm going to feed a few more 8mm. I'm going to have to feed a little bit just because I think there's quite a few of those little nuisance fish here, and I'm glad I've gone with 8mm over 6mm. Oh, I blew my cap off there. But I'm really pleased with that for a start. Thunderous old bite. So I'll just rattle those in now. I've got a lovely little tight pile of pellets around my hook bait. So I've got a perfect little trap set there now. My float is probably dotted down just a little bit too much there for fishing 8mm, but we'll just keep it as it is for a second. I might just nick a shot off there, just so I've got like a little bit. I'd like to have about that much show really. That is just a little bit too low for my liking, but let's just stick with it a second. Now it's all about now, if we can catch another one, trying to turn 2 fish into maybe 5 fish, or 5 fish into 10 fish. You can sometimes just stay on this line for a couple of hours and it can be mega if you're on the right pegs. But if you're not on the best of pegs, sometimes you're just fishing for 1 or 2 quick fish like what we've had now. We've had one £7. If we drop in here, catch another £7 again, in the first sort of 10 or 15 minutes of your session, you're away to a brilliant start. So it'll play a lot on what kind of peg you're on. If you're on a real good peg, you might be fishing for between 5 and 10 fish. Not the best pegs, maybe just 1 or 2, but come the end, it's those 1 or 2 that'll make a big difference. So let's sit nice and tight here now. Make sure that rig is sat right over those pellets. Look, there's a little bit of rubbish just coming to my peg there, so Just reposition that rig. But I'm sure there's another fish for us in this line. So let's settle into this chuck and see if we can nail another one. Hello. We're back in again. I'm trying to get this fish away from those pads. So again now I think I'm just going to throw 2 lots of pellets nice and accurate. I did have to wait a little bit of time for that one, but it doesn't matter because if we were in match conditions now, we're less than 15 minutes into the match. And that feels like a good fish again, that does, a real slow plodder. Like I said, there's some absolute beasts in this lake. It's fighting completely different to that last one. That last one was just absolutely full of it. And this one, it just wants to dog out underneath the feet. So I think what I'm going to try next, we'll try and get this one in. And just to try and eke one more fish out, I'm going to try throwing some pellets when we're actually fishing, just to create those, you know, a little bit of noise, a little bit more traction. I don't know whether just tapping pellets is quite cutting it really. I don't know if there's enough bait on the bottom because there's quite a few small fish about. I'm having a few little movements and stuff on my float. But one thing is for sure, by fishing on this short line on the harder bottom, when I've had a bite, it's just from a carp, it's just gone wallop. And we've had like 2 carp bites, not missed a bite, so. Another nice looking fish, another like 7-pound fish. Just try and keep them out of all these lily pads. John Wilson would be having an absolute field day if he was on this peg with all these pads about the place here. Here's that nice fish. There we go. Oh, nice fish, probably 6 pound that one. Just copped a load of stuff in my eye. There you go. Another nice fish. At least 6 pound, probably closer to 7 now and again. So that's like, realistically, 2 puts in and 14 pound in the net. So what I think I'm going to try now, just to see if we can turn 2 fish into 3, and that's what it's about, is just trying to catch that next one all the time. We did have to wait a little bit of time for that bite. So I want to try throwing some pellets in, try and get a bit of a reaction going here. So let's pick out a nice pellet. Nice uniform pellet there. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to take my pole pot off. A little bit of rubbish on there, look. And let's just have a go throw in. Sometimes this can transform it. You know, we've had 2 on that little cup now. You know, just by throwing it might get us another 2, you just don't know. So let's just try. Oh, that's not my best throw in the world. Well, that's a bit better. So I've just thrown 8 pellets in there now, that time. And every couple of minutes now, I'm just going to throw like 2 lots of 4 in again. Just more like attraction. I don't know if there's a million fish in the area by here, to be honest. So I think we've done well to catch those first 2. Nice and like stealthy on a little trap. But I feel like we need to attract a few more fish in, and throw in pellets is a mega way of doing that. So let's see if that makes any difference. I'll just keep an eye how long we've been fishing, and sort of every couple of minutes I'm just going to throw 2 lots of 4 in and see if we can get a bite like that. But like I said, I've seen no like bubbles or signs or anything. I've had a few like tiny little dinks off little fish pecking in it, I reckon, but anytime we've had a true bite, it's been a carp. So maybe it was tapping those pellets in, wasn't quite enough feed in there for them, but we'll see. There we go. There's one throw in the grub bin. That was clean as you like again, that bite. Just try and hold on to this one because he's on a power charge. And I should have sections behind me really. Just try and put an angle on him. Where's he going? He just spooked the big one, look. So I think this is a great example. If you're ever stuck in two minds when you get your peg, whether it be a pleasure session or a match, and you think, oh, where do I start? I've got so many options. The short line with pellets is an absolute banker for a couple of quick fish early doors. If this was a match now, I've had my 3 fish here, set me up, got 20 pound in the net, I could be on the method, or whatever, a long pole, whatever I want to do, but I know I've started in the right spot on my peg, caught 20 pound before most people really know what's going on. But even if you're not fishing a match and it's just a pleasure session, still a great place to start. Get a couple of early fish under your belt and then you can just enjoy the rest of your session. So plumb up, find the bottom of that shelf, that's really important. Fish with the right bait, hard pellets. If there's not so many silvers about, you can fish 6s. Today I know there's a lot of smaller silvers in here, so I've gone for 8s. And the rewards, well, I think you'll agree. It hasn't taken us long to catch a couple of, well, 20 pound of carp. Oh yeah, nice fish, one of those real dark commons. So let's try and get this one in. Even though he is going absolutely chicken oriental there. Come on, you. These are the worst ones, these are, these like wildy looking ones. Look at it. Oh yeah. Nice fish, yeah, that's another 6 pound that one. So there you go. Nice comment to finish on. I think that just proves how effective the short pole and pellets can be. Give it a try next time you're out on the bank.